This is the 8-9 Combo.
This is the 8-9 Combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones. And this is the Weekend Post-Mortem. Hello, mate. The grand final, the first grand final edition. How are you?
How's it, man? I was watching a lot of rugby, and then I decided to watch a movie. I watched High Fidelity, year 2000, John Cusack, Lisa Bonet. It's got Catherine Zeta-Jones, other luminaries. It's a very quirky movie. It's very interesting. Because it's set in the year 2000, it's like something you remember, but it's also far enough away that you really are, but maybe, I don't know, affectionate about, wow, that was funny when we used to do that, like build a record collection. And it was a big thing. And you'd actually have like, you into the art and you had to store it in some, and John Cusack ends up, even like storing it autobiographically, not even alphabetically in order. But it's a movie about, he's trying to understand his breakups in his life, the top five. So he and these, Jack Black is in it, and they're just kind of
Jack Black's in it.
They're lunatics, and they have encyclopedic knowledge of music, but no idea how to get laid. And so they're just chasing all around Chicago trying to get women, and they're terrible at it. But John Cusack is the best of the three, and he has these terrible breakups. He's super jealous, possessive, kind of whiny, kind of a bitch. And he just basically, in the end, he's trying to figure out why. And he has these top five lists. And as I was watching it, I kept thinking, this is a lot like finals. Because in the end, you kind of break up with your team because it's going to be a long time before they get back together again. They won't be the same. Yeah. In many cases, like Moana Pacifica, they go, oh, by the way, 15 people won't be back.
3/4 of the squad's leaving. Yeah.
And when you lose, just like, Michael Cheika, just trying to process it. He's on the field at Twickenham, and people say, well, what do you feel? How do you feel? He's like, oh, I feel terrible. and it's like a breakup. And there's things you can say that they did wrong and the ref did wrong, but also I did some stuff wrong. And he basically said, I feel sad that I couldn't take these guys to one more step. And then I also started thinking that, it's best, just like in the movie, to focus on what you love. And so that's what in this episode, I'm going to try to focus on the winners and how they go on to glory, or in the Super Rugby case, they're still doing it, and top 14. So it was a cool movie. I actually recommend that to everyone.
How do you, fearful of the diversion that I might create for myself here, how do you pick out your 25-year-old movies that you watch in the middle of a rugby binge? Like, how did High Fidelity? How did High Fidelity come up?
Let's see. Ooh, yeah, it's weird to go into your brain and go through these jumps. I was interested in this fighting system, and then I remembered, I think that actor John Cusack, who's a bit of a political activist, I remember reading that he was a 20-year devotee of this Brazilian fighting arts, and I Wikipedia'd that, and sure enough, that's true. And then it had a list of his filmology, whatever it's called. And then I was like, that was a good movie, wasn't it?
I'm going to watch that now.
If it was good, because sometimes you go, oh, that's great. And you watch a Peter Sellers movie and you go, oh, I'm going to kill myself. It's so slow. And this one was really, it was happening. And it had Lisa Bonet in, like, ooh, yes, I want to see that. And yeah, it was cool. It was like trying to find your way as a 28-year-old in that era.
All right. Excellent. Good. That's just peeled back another layer of the onion. We are back with the Weekend Post-Mortem, ripping into all the big moments of all the big results around the rugby world this weekend, and with the first domestic silverware of the year handed out in London and Dublin overnight. A couple of really interesting games there, wasn't it? Yeah, and we will get into them in a second.
Very cool, and they're all really different.
Very different. Yeah, very different. Very different. But before we rip in then to the Weekend Post-Mortem, please just explain once again why we would love the nice people to subscribe, if they wouldn't mind, to the 8-9 Combo as we edge just that. We are so close to 8,000 subscribers right now.
Really, it's getting close.
It is.
I think now it's about you having the glory of being the 50th one, or whatever we're looking for, to get us over that hump. And I also think maybe it's we deserve it. I think we
deserve it.
Yeah, we have been toiling in the trenches in the sun. in the heat, like 26 degrees heat of Twickenham that they were complaining about.
Yeah. We've been toiling away in the 7,700s, but now we need less than 40. So if you are watching on YouTube, just hit the red subscribe button just down there. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Pods, then hit subscribe, hit like, hit follow, hit whatever it is that hooks you up with us every week.
Yeah, and we'll be like South African cricket then, you know? Finally, sorry, go ahead.
And that's all we've got time for. See ya, bye. Had to bring that up, didn't you? The Premiership final was run and won at Twickenham. Bath 3 beat the Leicester Tigers 21 in an absolutely ripping game of rugby. Like, that was so enjoyable. I thought early in the second half, when Bath kicked away, that all right, this could be it. They're going to do this reasonably comfortably, and then suddenly it was anything but comfortable for them.
Tough side. Like Checker said at the end, we tough. What we are is we have camaraderie. We formed a group. How did you make them hard to beat?
Yeah.
Because we had some bad games. We got beaten really badly. And he just said it was about the stick-to-itiveness, stubbornness almost. And in the end, the Tigers scored more tries. It was 3-2. They were hanging on by their small, short hairs. Bath was like, can we steer the ship in? I guess there were some pivotal moments, though. That's what kind of made them. The game was cool, though, just the way it was filmed. The fact that there was a rendition of God Save the Queen, God Save the King that sounded like it was on crack. I thought the camera work was superb.
Yeah.
Nobody spices up a scrum like the way they do it, where they have a guy on the sideline.
David Flatman standing there on the sideline, like he was a foot away from the AR, explaining to you what was about to happen and why this particular scrum in this particular part of the field was so important. And then it went down. It was a reset. So he could keep going. He could explain it.
Yeah, instead of moaning about it.
Yeah, it was.
There was another calm guy on there and earlier, and then he was like, "Oh, let's just get back to playing rugby. These resets." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up."
Was it Austin Healy?
Flatman was building expectation around that scrum because it really was that important. And he told you what this guy needs to do and what this guy needs to do with his shoulders, that the build of this man is going to affect the balance of it. And it made you excited, and it used that 45 seconds in a meaningful way that the really most successful sports do about every part of their sport.
It was great. It was great. And I have no doubt that we're actually starting to see it creep in more. We're seeing a few little pitch side things starting to happen, but the context around the scrum is really, really, really well done. The
and he has to whisper
in
a
England,
little bit because he's right there next to the touchy. So you're like, we're in on a secret.
Yeah, I can't like this touchy needs to make sure he's saying the right thing. Yeah.
I wanted the touchy to turn around and go, no, that's not true.
What? But it was a crucial moment. And from memory, one of the teams had just replaced a prop and a hooker, I think, as well. So he was talking about that. Like, it's really important for these guys, to get in and get this right. It was, I mean, when Finn Russell took when they scored that try to go up 20-7, was that Russell's
interception?
Intercept, a Jawmore scores. That's on 50 minutes. 20-7, like, there was a real danger that could have got away from Leicester, but then they
crawled back in,
round their way back in. It was nearly 20 minutes later when they scored again, and
it felt like it might be a drop goal at the end because Pollard's got that in his locker. Hey, Finn Russell afterwards being questioned about that, and we don't know if this is true or not, but what he said, the reason why he gave that instead of just running it in and sliding in, because he probably could have made it to the try line, is he looked and he saw who it was. And it was a good, a man born in Bath and raised with a family that he'd suffered through all the bad things and decided to give it to him. And I thought, okay, that's a cool reason. It makes me like you more, but it might make Andy Farrell nervous taking you and starting you against the Lions. Like, do you really want that thought process to go when you have an interception against Australia? You're really cruising in and go,
we're playing this.
Yeah.
We're playing this test in Melbourne. Who's from around here?
Finley Beelum or whatever, the Canberra man.
Yeah.
So,
It's-
but then
it was-
that's high drama, that interception, but also some of the kicks to line by Pollard in particular, and some of the tactical kicking was so top drawer. But in the end, I was looking at the stats, and it looked to me like turnovers conceded. So, and that includes fumble, knock-ons,
handling errors.
mishand,
Yep.
22 by Bath. So anyone saying they were way ahead and it should have been done, when you drop the ball or give it over 22 times in a match, you let your opponent back in, and the Tigers were all too happy to just crawl back in. I thought it was
that's probably what allowed Leicester to get back into the contest like they did at that point. The fact that Bath, even leading by nearly 2 converted tries,
it was never safe.
Couldn't quite put them away. Yeah. It was just like the atmosphere. Twickenham was absolutely full. The like bathed in sunshine, and we heard the commentary team talking about how hot it was, and what was the screenshot? What did the screenshot say of London's weather at that point? 24 degrees, something like that. I mean, that's hot. But actually, at one point there was a break in play, and the trainers were out, and they actually had spray, like water spray bottles, spraying the backs of necks and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, all I'll say is, and when it's hot in London, it just feels hot. I don't know what it is. It's not a scientific principle, but it's steamy. I think that you're basically in a swampland, that's been filled in for centuries.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, ultimately, it sort of feels right. I think like Bath were, the runaway leaders of the Premiership. They went into the game as fairly heavy favourites. I think it's fair to say. There was a nice narrative around the Michael Cheika comeback with Leicester and how he's brought them from, 7th or 8th last year, whenever they were, back into the Premiership decided. That was cool, but I always sort of felt like Bath was going to win this.
Yeah, there were lots of different...
You had a different take, didn't you?
There were intertwining narratives.
Yes. You
had Bruce Craig, been spending millions of dollars forever. And he said, finally, hey, give me a few £1,000 back. I don't know what the win was worth, but it was not worth what he put into the club.
Yeah, he was not getting his receipts back.
And then I think the other narrative is Johan van Graan, an unlikely alliance between Johan van Graan and Finn Russell. And Johan couldn't be a quieter fellow. He has his notebook at all times, and then Finn's that swashbuckling, brick mason guy who speaks it, tells it like it is. And they've just formed a really good partnership. I thought it was interesting that they qualified so early. All their supporters knew to get tickets, so they had more people there because they were very sure they'd be in the final. Whereas if you were a Tigers fan, you're like, not sure. I just think it was a feel-good factor. I mean, I felt for the Tigers because I think I had maybe more affinity for them, and I felt like they didn't get a lot of calls. They always seemed to go against them. And there was one moment where Cheika had this famous, Cheika moment. I was like, oh, no.
Just before half time. Yeah, he had a massive pitch side blow up, didn't he?
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was good times.
Pepper, the open side flanker, was a judge man of the match, and he was phenomenal.
His almost try was ridiculous.
Yes, it's one of the great non-tries of the year for 2025. I'm quite sure. It reminded me very much of the way Henry Pollock plays.
Yeah,
it was like he was hard on the ball, dynamic, quick. He actually showed a turn of pace.
Yeah, and Ted Hill was. Our friend Charlie Morgan wrote about him, and he's the quickest guy in the whole team. I mean, it's just a lot of good athletes out there. I thought all around. I thought maybe the Tigers were short of a game breaker. I mean, Izzy Peresi has a really like a flash to him, but overall, like Freddie Stewart's not running away from anybody. At Radwan, I don't know if he knows how to interject himself in the game as well as he should. So it just felt
particularly
like,
when things aren't going their way. Yeah, that's a fair question.
and Ben Young's a great servant of Leicester was criticized for putting that kick up. But I mean, you've got 2 minutes to go. You have 80 meters to run.
You're trying something at that
You
point.
got to get on the other side a little bit, maybe, and then the chase was terrible. There was a moment he puts the kick up. Radwan's the only one supposed to chase, but Radwan has come over to join the line and join Pollard. Pollard puts his hands on his head because he knows we weren't ready for the chase. We were going to try to do the impossible, march 80 meters and do something.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah. It felt like that there was more. There was better attacking connectivity across the Bath midfield to me, as opposed to the Leicester one. And it looked like more was likely to happen from Bath, I think so.
And then it's sad because Julio Montoya, the Jay Slipper lookalike, is going away. Pollard's going away. Cheika's going away. It's a breakup.
Cheika doesn't get the
It's like High Fidelity. It's a breakup. Yeah.
yeah. So Bath claim a treble of sorts. They tried to interject that into the coverage, but it's sort of like, it's a treble. Sure, you won 3 titles.
There's one really important one. Yes.
That's what I'm
good to see.
That's what I'm getting at. Anyway, so look, a great final. That's the best thing to me, and I think that's the contrast with what happened in the ERC final, which was a bit of a one-way cakewalk. Leinster winning 32-7 at Croke Park in Dublin. And I didn't watch this one live. I have caught up on some highlights subsequently, and I mean, it feels like the age. It's almost cliche, but the Bulls really didn't get to fire a shot.
Yeah, it's a very interesting game, though. I think people still enjoy a bit of it. So this is one of those classic cases where the first 25 minute really decides the final.
Yep.
And the reason I'm saying that is because anyone who's down 19-0 is just going to start doing things, especially if the clock gets to about 50 minutes into it and you're still down 19-0-ish or 22. You start to do crazy stuff. And then the other team gets to run in a couple of easy ones. But the 19-0 is the one to focus on. Unbelievably impressive Leinster. The kind of thing that Leinster is always vaunted to do, supposed to do. As Bernard Jackman says, we should be doing that every season.
Yeah.
They had a dream 25 minutes. They won the air.
And that's the thing. It was 19-0 after 24 minutes. Yeah.
But how they did it. They won the air, won the scrums, they won the breakdown, they won the loose ball. And when you win every single component of the game, there is no way for even a set piece dynamo like the Bulls to get back in. There was a fly hack kick by Jordy Barrett on a break. There was
ran away and scored, and it was actually showed a bit of skill to be able to get the boot on the flying ball and then actually grounded as well. So that was really real. That was the second try, wasn't it?
Right. So that's it. Okay. So I've given you the first 25 minutes, 19-0.
Yeah. And
then the Bulls basically bullied them. 8 straight minutes. You have to watch it to know this. It will not be in the highlights because they don't score. And the Bulls are battering them. And you see the Nienaber defense start doing its thing. It basically constipated the Bulls' attack. It ran them into dead corners. It invited them into the alleys. Every ruck the Bulls formed was barged back. So from 30 minutes to 38 minutes, they have a line out on the 5-meter line. The Bulls do. Easy, catch it, even get a penalty advantage. Do it again. And for the next 3 or 4 minutes, they just bash at that line. Yeah. And they start getting worked back to the 7-meter, 11-meter, 13, 15, 16. Finally, Willie LaRue just does a nothing kick, and it's half time. And you realize when they went off, they go, I don't think the Bulls can win this. I think they had the ball for so much. They should have scored twice. It would have been 19-14, game on. They couldn't pierce it. And so you realize, even though it looks like an attack won that game, I really think it's a series of 25 minutes of attack and then just 12, 13 minutes of hellish defense.
Withholding, There was actually a real reaction when Spiders Lurie puts that kick away, and it's not a great kick. I think there was a few faces and a few heads sort of dropped. It was like, oh,
it wasn't his day.
that might have been really important. It
But
was
for Leinster, we should applaud them. The Leinster pack, Ryan
they were
Baird
great.
was
They were very, very good.
Unbelievable. Jack Conan was really amazing.
Yeah, their back
Andrew
row
Porter,
was so good. Yeah,
James Ryan, Josh van der Fleer back in the saddle. They were just phenomenal.
Talk to me about Van der Fleer. That was his first game in a chunk of time.
He looks so good. He was everywhere. He made great tackles. His carrying was phenomenal for a while, and it wasn't even. It was a touch and go. Like as of Tuesday, people thought, I don't know, maybe he is, maybe he's not, and he just delivered.
Hell of a shift to come straight back into a grand final and play that game that he did. The thing to me that I saw watching it, and admittedly it wasn't a full game replay that I took in, but watching back what I watched back, to me it said that every little component of the Leicester game that's been pulled out and dissected and put under the microscope and criticised and analysed and eulogized even in some cases, they just made enough of a change that fixed that one, and then the next bit, and then the next bit, and the next bit, and the next bit, and they got it all right, and they led 19-0 after 24 minutes. And
then there's a great scene at Oranges where in the Champions Cup, Leo reportedly took over the team and sort of because of the nervousness of what he faced with the Saints and the stakes, and sort of took the team over too much, maybe almost authoritarian. And this time around, Ninaber at the halftime is gesticulating, he's hammering down, he's doing what Jacques always does, which is sign your name, take your place, write your story. And Leo is saying nothing. And all the players, it's not divided into forwards and backs, they're all listening. And you go, you're up 19-0. What are you doing? And it's almost like he was saying, we're going to die. We have to, we're going to lose. And I thought,
you will be ruthless, damn it.
They got this. And that's what they hired Jacques to do. And he finally got to deliver it.
No, congratulations to them. I think, and
awesome.
It was for all the criticisms about how big the crowd may or may not be.
45,000,
and you could see it meant plenty to those that were.
That's
that were
big
there.
enough.
So
45,000's a lot.
That would have just about filled the Aviva. So that's pretty decent. So no, congratulations to Leinster, very very deserving ERC champions for 2025, and that's the fourth different winner in ERC format. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. It was guaranteed a new winner. The Bulls have been in 3 of the 4 finals of its existence. Stormers
and Leinster kept dropping out in semi-finals.
Glasgow in 2. So it's been a wild ride. Munster, in 1. So it's been
cool.
Irish South African sort of scrabble with a bit of Glasgow favor.
Fair. More than fair. Well, Super Rugby Pacific, on the other hand, will be an all New Zealand affair. With the Crusaders beating the Blues 21-14 on Friday night, and then the Chiefs 37 were too good for the ACT Brumbies 17 on Saturday in Hamilton. Two different games, results that I think were probably expected in terms of the winners, but how they got there was very different, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were no upsets in the whole weekend at all, anywhere, actually.
No.
I thought the Blues had to do something they weren't used to doing. They had to manufacture an attack, which they almost just about did. 40 phases in the red zone, 162 passes. They hardly ever throw the ball around. 131 rucks. They never build that many rucks. So they had to do something that they're capable of doing, but they were out of practice. And I thought that kind of doomed them in the end, because when they had to do it, they're like, how do we do this?
The Crusaders said, we're going to build a lead, but you're going to have to play a lot of rugby here. Like, we're actually going to we're going to be happy to defend this. And so I don't know what the possession territory share was, but
Crusaders had 203 tackles. I'll say that. I'll tell you that.
Okay,
so that tells you
there
something.
You go. That's 60+% possession, isn't it? So,
yeah.
but they just did enough. Like Will Jordan was absolutely phenomenal.
Cool try that he scored.
Different, it was a very un-Will Jordan try. Is what I'll say about that. But the Blues at the end, I mean, 38 phases. I think they hammer at the line, and there was a couple of times where I thought, well, they can't not score here, but then they'd get repelled here, and then you'd think, oh, I don't know if they can. And that was all within the same.
I mean,
8
Christian
minutes.
Leo Willie pouncing on the loose
8 minutes.
ball. That was.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see a lot of replays on it while the game was playing, and I thought,
Yeah.
show us some more.
There
What was that?
Yeah, there was plenty of conjecture about that.
Did you see anything more definitive than? I mean, I didn't see much.
My immediate question was, how did that ball come out first and foremost, and then you get into the whole thing. Well, hang on, that's well inside the meter that they use as the definition of what is near a ruck, of which you can't, dive or fall on a ball. So, but equally, Christian Leo Willie dives past one of the Blues props who's sitting down trying to push the ball backwards. So my suspicion actually is, now that putting that all together logically, my suspicion is that it's probably a Blues knock on. The Blues prop is trying to push it back. Leo Willie dives on what he sees as a loose ball out of the ruck, and it was another mess in front of the eyes of a referee who did not want to blow a whistle. 2 wrongs make a right. I like it. Yeah, ultimately, that's what it came down to. So the Crusaders will host. The Chiefs were very, very good against the Brumbies, and that's not to say the Brumbies were terrible, because they certainly weren't. Their first half was excellent. They played exceptionally well to get out and lead early as they did. But in a classic case of semi-final rugby, Damien McKenzie kicked 5 or 6 penalties for the night, and if the feeling, and it sort of occurred to me, swapping a few messages with a few different people late on Saturday night, that for all the domination the Brumbies had in the first 20 odd minutes, they didn't really get enough out of it. And McKenzie kicks his first penalty. The Chiefs are actually leading by the 23rd minute. That's when they get it to 10-7. Yeah. And they were never headed from there. So, the Brumbies got back a couple of times, but they never got closer than 4 points, I think. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, McKenzie was just like, I found this image, and I've got to put that up for you, because it just seemed like McKenzie was untouchable at times. But not necessarily ball in hand. He kicked superbly. He threw the right pass when he needed to. He when the Chiefs needed the right play, he had it. And when the Brumbies needed the right play in the second minute, they lost in the second half. Their accuracy just deserted them.
There were three points I got from this, and I actually fell asleep in the middle of it, but I came back to life and watched some of the pertinent parts. My 3 points I got from it were, it was a lot of kicking. It was and then I'll check later, and it was the most kicking of any of the games. So 43 for the Chiefs, 41 out of hand for the Brumbies.
Well, so just on that,
4 kicks, that's a lot.
So just on that, we actually made that point in our call for the ABC that both teams, there was a stat flashed up at halftime. The Chiefs averaged 30 kicks a game. The Brumbies averaged 25 or 26 a game, I think. By halftime, they had 21 and 20 respectively. So it was a big kicking game. Yeah.
So in contrast, the Crusaders only kicked 27 for the whole game. And other games, even in the Northern Hemisphere, were less. My second point was, it felt like the Brumbies lineup was a bit wobbly. I don't know if that was making that
again,
up.
No, that definitely happened.
Third thing was, there was a good fight. I saw a real fight. It was.
Did you say Quinn Tupai run in and throw one?
Yeah, it was very cool. I mean, I thought, first of all, I like fights that go off the field near the barricades, near the fans, because you go, ooh, this could really get serious. Because someone could be wedged in there, and you could use some leverage. And then he Superman punched. He came and did the Superman punch.
Yeah,
wild.
And very
number 12, right?
To,
Chiefs 12.
Yes. Yep. And it was very similar to the one a couple of weeks ago, the Western Force Waratahs game, where you saw, who was it? It was the Waratahs lock. Everyone just sort of went.
There was 3 or 4 punches there.
Did he throw one? And you see it, and you think, did I see that right? And you actually don't see it again to know. So
who did Tupai punch? Was it Darcy? Or was it not Darcy? Was it
Darcy
Hooper?
No, it
Tom
was
Hooper?
No. It was I think it was Tuana Tualima, the number 8. So there'd been a bit of a reaction to, I think, he shoved a tackled player, or tackled player shoved him,
Sean
something like that, and then that sort of and that sort of was push and shove over the edge, and then suddenly it heads towards the fence, and
that's good. That's good. That's real stuff. You know that it feels street then, because you got a fence nearby. There's stuff people have big microphones you could use.
It gets a bit
grab a beer out of someone's hand.
There was a bit of a melee in the Crusaders Blues game as well. That sort of went over the dead
bad
ball
tempers
line,
in the Super Rugby.
Yeah, angry ants. So next week we have another final in Christchurch. So they have their ridiculous run of unbeaten finals at home continues. The Chiefs are in their third straight grand final. They lost to the Blues last year, lost to the Crusaders beforehand. The Brumbies now have lost 4 straight semi-finals.
Well, let's remark on some symmetry here, which is in the ERC, it ended up being number 1 versus number 2 at the home of number 1. Yeah. In the Prem, it was a clear number 1 against number 2. And then here we have 1 and 2 in Super Rugby, except that because of these weird qualifying knockouts, the number 2 gets the host.
it's second v first on the table, but first against second in the reseeding. Yes, that's right. That's
reversal.
Right. Yes, it was a bit funny. So interested to see how that plays out next week. Top 14. I've not seen a whole lot of this, I must admit. So I'm going to have to defer to you on as we talk about the phase finale. Bayonne stayed unbeaten at home again, beating Claremont 20-3 in barrage number 1. Toulon were pretty comfortable against Cast, 52-3 in barrage number 2.
So I had to wait until barrage number 2 was finished, because to do Harry Index, Toulon matters, because I've always had Toulon in my Harry Index. The Harry Index has had Toulon in there for a long time. It dipped just out, but it's always been interesting about Toulon, and they just hammered Cast. But I didn't know at first, so I had a hold. So I didn't see the game, but I was watching it in the second half just to make sure, and then wow, they pummeled them.
Yeah.
I watched every second of one of the weirdest matches I've seen in ages, which is Bayonne against Clermont. And it reminded me...
Clermont. Sorry, I might have said Cast before.
ASM, Clermont. And so you had, Michelin, VIP star, like amazing club against Bayonne, who's really never been much. It's the Basque club. It's up and coming. It's a really great place to go see rugby, by the way. I highly recommend it. But it was weird weather because it was rainy yet not cool. So everyone's wearing T-shirts. Nobody in the crowd, and the French are always notoriously cold when they're not really that cold. They just had T-shirts. So I go, wow, it must be really warm. So it was a sticky, warm, humid, but torrential downpour. So no one could catch a ball or keep it in their hands. The fly-off for Bayonne he looks like a prop. Let's be honest. And then number 9 is even worse. It looks like a really unfit group of players, and yet Bayonne's really good this year. They play like a team. They know how to play rugby. They're like one of those teams that's not properly fit, yet everyone's really smart. Yeah. And they gave the ball, and it reminded me of a High Fidelity, because John Cusack's always walking around in the rain. He's sad. He's trying to figure out his life. Claremont was trying to figure out why they couldn't score. There was a moment of sheer cartoonery. Bayonne spills the ball, gets blocked or something. They run back to their goal line, and then they scoop the ball. One Bayonne guy scoops the ball under the legs of the overweight halfback, and then he kind of shovels it through. And then all these Claremont players slide in through the rain. All of them can dot the ball down, and they will have a try, and they will be back in the match. And none of it gets it done.
None of them could.
None of them could do it. It was like they were sliding by. Woo. And then there was a guy who did do it, and the ref, like in the top 14, they stop. And they, for 4, 5, 6 minutes, they watch art films of everything. I don't know. They're just watching like suggestions of a try. And in the end, it was clearly a try. And they said, no, it is not a try. And then they went back to and Bayonne won. And I was like, what a weird place.
Is it true? Is it true French TMOs only watch things in black and white?
This one, I don't know what this one was watching, because it was clearly a try, but in the end, they decided it wasn't, and they gave some very weird rationale.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like
Something very French.
Jean Paul Sartre existentialism. It was an existential try, but not a real try.
It was a moral try.
It was super fun. I highly recommend watching the game just for
I'll check it out.
Silly. It was a shithouse.
I'll check it out. So Perpignan won the access match, the promotion relegation game against Grenoble, so they'll stay up in the top 14. 13-11 though, so she was tight.
Grenoble.
She was tight. So that then takes us to next week, where we will play the demi-finales.
That's when the big boys get involved.
Yes, Toulouse will host Bayonne, and
ouch, that's going to be bad.
Bordeaux will host Toulon.
That could be good because Toulon's tough enough. They can bully. It'll be a clash of styles, that one. Yeah,
we'll be interested to see who gets through there. I feel like Toulouse will be comfortable, but the other one could be anything. So yes, I'll have to try and check that out in some shape or form. We're recording a touch earlier than we have typically recorded the Weekend Post-Mortem. So in terms of Major League Rugby, I can tell you that Chicago Hounds have beaten Old Glory DC 27-16 in the East, in one of the Eastern Conference semi-finals, and the other three are to be played on Saturday night and Sunday local time in the US. So we'll touch on those on Wednesday. But I think that might be us done, mate. Anything else to wrap? Anything else? Any other weird John Cusack references you want to wedge in here at this point?
In the movie High Fidelity, John Cusack is also in the movie with John Cusack, but they do not play brother and sister. But don't worry, they don't kiss or anything. So it's not like a draw.
Good to know. Yeah. Good to know. That then is the Weekend Post-Mortem behind us. Harry and I remain on the socials in our usual places at Harry Baldy Jones and at BMC Sport. You can tell us what you think by following the 8-9 Combo on Twitter, on Blue Sky, and on YouTube as well. You can have your say on the YouTube channel. You can have your say on Spotify if you're listening there as well. And we would love to hear from you. We absolutely try and get back to everyone who leaves us a comment. So share us far and wide, leave us a rating, review, all of that as well. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed in a rugby podcast. I'm Brett McKay, he's Harry Jones, and we'll be back in your ears in just a few days' time with the great Tony Johnson joining us for another great rugby chat.
To the victor, the spoils. Don't bash the ref too much, just a little bit, and then let's reward the victors. Come play with us.
Here goes Jones with another bruising run. He links up with McKay, who pops back to Jones. They can't. They won't. They will. What a try. The Dream Team Combo go in again.